Hello, Robs. It's November, and we will start with We Gather Together, The Story of Thanksgiving by Ralph and Adelin Linton. First, take a look at the book. Oh, look, there's a little turkey. Cute. Turkey's in the spine, too. And the turkey's in the straw and the spine. We Gather Together, The Story of Thanksgiving by Ralph and Adelin Linton, the various and far-flung elements which have combined to produce the great American holiday Thanksgiving are brought together for the first time in this book. The author is an eminent anthropologist, and his wife have traced the development of harvest festivals from their primitive beginnings through classical times and medieval European observances to the harvest home of the British Isles, the model on which the first American Thanksgiving was consciously or unconsciously based. The account of the first Thanksgiving in the New World is reconstructed as fully as is possible from the scanty contemporary records. The authors recount, too, the ways in which Thanksgiving was kept alive in American hearts during the long years between the Pilgrim Feast of 1621 and the Lincoln Proclamation of 1863, which established the holiday as an annual event. Thanksgiving is the most American of holidays. In this book, the reader will find the historical events, traditions, folklore, songs, and pictures which are all a part of it. See if there's anything on the back. About the authors. Ralph Linton, Sterling Professor of Anthropology at Yale University, is an eminent author, educator, and anthropologist whose studies and research have taken him to many corners of the world. He received his BA degree from Swarthmore College after being awarded his doctorate from Harvard University. Dr. Linton began the active career which has so distinguished him in his field. Never mind the fact that I'm taking my socks off right now while I'm reading. Ethnological fieldwork and museum collecting have taken him to Madagascar and Marquesas Islands and South Africa, and he has worked extensively among the Comanche Indians. He has made archaeological studies in Guatemala and the American Southwest. Dr. Linton, who taught for 8 years at the University of Wisconsin and for 9 years at Columbia University, before becoming Sterling Professor at Yale University, is also president of the American Anthropological Association and chairman of the Anthropology Division of the National Academy of Science. He is author of the widely read Study of Man and Cultural Background of Personality, and with his wife Adelin is co-author of Man's Way. Adelin Linton, who is a graduate of the University of Wisconsin, has been both a newspaper columnist and magazine writer. She has worked closely with her husband for many years, and We Gather Together, The Story of Thanksgiving, is the second book on which she has collaborated with him. We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. He chastens and hastens his will to make known. Traditional Hymn of Thanksgiving, Netherlands, 1625. Books in the Great Religious Festival Series, 4,000 Years of Christmas. Whoa, I need that one. Earl W. Count. Passover, Its History and Traditions by Theodore H. Gaster. We Gather Together. Maybe I'll get both of these. We Gather Together, The Story of Thanksgiving. Abelard Schumann, London and New York. Copyright 1949 by Henry Schumann, Inc., manufactured in the United States of America by H. Wolfe, New York. Second printing, May 1957. The contents: Over the River and Through the Wood, Harvest Festivals of the Old World, The English Harvest Home, Squanto, A Neglected Hero, The First Thanksgiving, Other New England Thanksgivings, The First National Thanksgiving Proclamation, Thanksgiving becomes a legal holiday. Index. The illustrations, we will see when we get to them. The pumpkin. Ah, on Thanksgiving Day, when from east and from west, from north and from south, come the pilgrim and guest. When the gray haired New England sees round his board the old broken links of affection restored, when the care wearied man seeks his mother once more, and the worm matron smiles when the girl smiled before, where the girl smiled before. What moistens the lip and what brightens the eye? What calls back the past like the rich pumpkin pie? Oh, fruit loved of boyhood, the old days recalling, when wood grapes were purpling and brown nuts were falling. When wild, ugly faces we carved in its skin, glaring out through the dark with a candle within. When we laughed round the corn heap with hearts all in tune, our chair a broad pumpkin, our lantern the moon, telling tales of a fairy who traveled like steam in a pumpkin shell coach with two rats for her team. John Greenleaf Whittier. Over the river and through the wood. Is this the first chapter? Or is this just the... Yeah, that's the first chapter. Might as well read it. It's only 2 pages, 3 pages. Thanksgiving is the oldest and most truly American of our national holidays, first celebrated by the Pilgrim Fathers and proclaimed anew each year by the President of the United States. It is as indigenous as the pumpkin pie, which is the correct ending for every Thanksgiving feast. Moreover, it has changed less in its intention and in the manner of its celebration than any other of our holidays, national or international. The founders of America had never heard of most of the things we now do at Christmas or Easter, but Thanksgiving is still very much what the Pilgrims made it, a giving of thanks for divine bounty, coupled with a practical demonstration of that bounty. Churches of all denominations are open for services on this particular Thursday every year, but even the most devout divide attention between church and kitchen. Quite as important as worship on this day is the renewal of the family ties. Thanksgiving, even more than Christmas, is the holiday which brings scattered kindred together. The head of the family, or the member with the biggest house and the longest tablecloth, calls a gathering of the clan. Sons and daughters come with their spouses and children. Aunts and uncles from both sides of the family are drawn in. Small cousins eye each other shyly, but by the end of the day, after the dinner, the games, and the cold turkey sandwiches in the kitchen, before leaving for home, they have become friends. Old family jokes and stories are shared, and for a little while, all hands bask in a sense of belonging to an intimate, affectionate group. They may go back to their separate homes later, but for a while they have been part of something larger than themselves. Thanksgiving is also the time for sharing. It is hard to enjoy one's turkey if one knows that neighbors are hard put to it to get hamburger. The custom of providing Thanksgiving baskets for poor families is nearly as old as the holiday. Even our first Thanksgiving Day set a pattern for sharing, albeit more by accident than intention. By intention, as will be narrated in Chapter 5, the great Indian chief Massasoit, who had been invited by the pilgrims to their feast, brought with him 90 braves with brave appetites. The hosts were startled, but played up like men, although it cost them lean months the following winter. Pilgrims and Indians, turkey and pumpkin pie are so much a part of the American tradition that it is hard for us to realize that the beginnings of Thanksgiving go back not only to the Old World, but to the early world. The Pilgrims frowned on all the holidays of merry England and refused to celebrate even Christmas because they knew of its pagan origins. In proclaiming a day of Thanksgiving after the crops were gathered and before winter set in, they may have taken a hint from the Old Testament, but they certainly did not know that they were acting in a tradition which went back to the time when men first began to sow and reap. Long before the dwellers by the Nile learned to measure the year or dreamed of building pyramids, all people who grew grain gave thanks at harvest time to the beings who had given them their daily bread for the hard winter months. Moreover, these ancient farmers sensed in the changing seasons and in the cycle of seed to plant, to seed again, the miracle of death and resurrection, and turned their wonder at it into legends. In the next video, we will deal with the harvest festivals of the old world. All right, Bobs, goodbye. Goodbye.